Hello and welcome to Elephant Power Productions. I'm American Elephant, call me Kevin, and if you're new here, I am a 2D artist and animator with a focus on characters in a lot of my work. And now that I've been using the Procreate app, meaning I can finally export time-lapses of said work, I've wanted to showcase more of my artistic talents through drawing exercise videos on this channel. So today, welcome to the first episode of a new series. We have Kev Talks for my video essays, so this is Kev Draws, a series where I draw whatever I want. And today, the first project we're doing is all about Super Sentai. If you really are that new and don't know what Super Sentai is, it's a Japanese tokusatsu action series. In other words, you know Power Rangers? This came first, and is where Power Rangers gets most of its action from. Anyway, even though it's over now, Super Sentai has left us with a 50-year-plus legacy that has showcased a wonderful variety of designs in both its Rangers and monsters, usually because of their creative choices for themes. But out of all the themes they've gone with for each Ranger team, from dinosaurs and ninjas, to vehicles and animals, to martial arts, crystals, space, angels, pirates, knights, cops and robbers, the legend of Don Momotaro, the sun itself, there is one theme we've never had embodied by an entire Sentai: the ocean. Yeah, despite having a ton of ranger suits, monsters, and mecha inspired by things found or used in them, we've never had a fully ocean-themed Sentai. Now, realistically, I get why. If you have a Sentai team based on the ocean, you probably want to get footage near or underwater, and that's very hard. Not only do you need permits to film in either private or public locations like beaches, but you basically need to waterproof literally everything. Filming underwater especially is always challenging, even for bigger budget movies and shows with proper tank sets. Still, especially now that we've gotten immersive green screen technology for some Sentai shows, it does kinda suck that we couldn't get an underwater Sentai team that uses such technology and awesome wire work to tell a cool story while keeping the cast and crew safe. Well, today I'm gonna change that by making my own ocean-themed Sentai team. After expositing my premise, picture this. A new branch of the Japanese Navy has been activated for a specific purpose: to fix its greatest mistake. Years ago, Atlantis Labs, a government-funded marine biology organization, was experimenting with ways to clone sea life should a species die off thanks to careless human activity. Unfortunately, they went too far. After one terrible accident, a new race of creatures was born from the animal DNA in the lab: the Mizunami. Unstable, dangerous life forms that attacked, killed some of the scientists, and escaped into the sea. Since then, they've been building a secret underwater empire, and their leader has been creating more Mizunami by mutating marine life into soldiers. Now, said leader intends to flood the surface and conquer it all for his kind. Fortunately, Atlantis Labs, now called Atlas Division, has been folded into the Navy and is ready to fight back against the Mizunami with a secret weapon they call Umi Sentai Haidoroh! Now then, with the exposition out of the way, let's get to designing this band of Pacific misfits. First up we have Haidoroh Red. Asanuma Noboru is a hired gun serving time for crimes as a pirate. Having been raised by criminals and a victim of backstabbing, naturally his biggest problem is trust. So at first, this stuff is all a job to him, and he doesn't try to get too close to his team. But naturally, this desire to stay a loner who only swims forward doesn't do him any favors in the long run, and only shows him the community he's missed out on. So, because Noboru was the first ranger, I obviously spent more time figuring out the look of his suit and what would carry over from it to the others, so that everyone else would go faster. For the inspirations I looked at on my computer, since this is a more militaristic team, I originally wanted to fuse Japanese Navy uniforms with scuba gear to convey both rank and practicality. But I ultimately leaned more toward the latter since the tight scuba look contrasted with the looser naval clothing of my references, and I felt leaning into the tighter suits would make for a cooler design. I wanted these to have finer details that didn't take away from the helmet or the animal emblem on their chests, but it took me a minute of staring at real scuba threading and its flow to figure out that balance. I was worried locking down the coloration would be equally tricky, since scuba suits are usually just black or gray and only have patches with different colors on them at most. I found very few instances of a scuba suit being one solid, vibrant color. But I was able to use that to my advantage, taking heavy inspiration from Gozyuger's way of breaking up its suit's base colors with black, and the black and white detailing of the Flashman suits. However, all this meant some ideas were sacrificed during development, mainly Go-Buster-style shoulder straps. The intent of including them in the initial sketch was to have them attached to a back tank and give the design, again, a more practical feel, but it just made drawing the torso details more difficult than expected. Plus, we've had ocean-themed Sentai suits that don't need back tanks or extra bells and whistles to breathe underwater or survive ocean pressure, so I think it's fine to leave out. At the very least, it was a good test, as it inspired the white breathing tubes that are going to be on all the helmets. For Noburu's character, I was actually inspired by Din Djarin in The Mandalorian. If this were a real show, Noboru would most likely act the way Din does before meeting Grogu. But while Din at least had his Creed and Mandalorian splinter culture before then, Noboru, when he joins this team, has no friends and does not want any at first. Nevertheless, he's not a monster, just a guy that got betrayed and has been made more defensive because of that. And once he's brought in Suicide Squad style instead of serving a sentence, of course his walls slowly come down and the team he leads becomes his first true family, one that won't betray him. As for why I chose a hammerhead shark motif, aside from Great White's already getting plenty of attention, Sentai-wise, we've only had hammerhead mecha in Gal Ranger and Goseiger, and in general, we've never had a shark-themed Red Ranger. The closest we've gotten is the Shark Disc mode in Power Rangers Samurai, but that was T-Rex themed in Shinkenger, so aside from that, the only ocean-themed Red Rangers have been whale power-ups via Juo Whale and Wild Goju Wolf's Orca theme. By the way, no, that is not me misremembering the killer whale nickname. Yes, orcas are dolphins, but dolphins are in the whale family of Cetacea, so all dolphins are whales, but not all whales are dolphins. The more you know. Anyway, a hammerhead motif was also great for giving him a unique helmet shape. My main inspirations there were Atuma in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, because making his weird comic helmet into a hammerhead skull was genius, and Mizul from the Kamen Rider O's villain faction Greed, as her head fins give off a similar shape. And of course, you can't have a Shark Ranger helmet without a fin up top. Well, okay, I guess you can, as Goseiger Blue proves, but not if you're going full-on animal motif like other Shark Rangers. And like sharks, there's more to Noboru than you think. He might be dangerous, but he's just trying to survive and feels, at first, that it's best done alone. Finally, for weapons, I introduce you to the Henshin devices, the Scuba Blasters and Daibingu discs. The former of which was easily the hardest part of this project to draw so far, because full disclosure, I kinda suck at drawing guns right now, and I'm amazed this one looks even half decent. Anywho, the Scuba Blaster can fire quick plasma blasts, or be used to transform a ranger by placing a disc into the opening slot, turning the wheel at the back to the right, and then shouting, "Umi change! Splash!" while firing. Basically, imagine plugging an O's metal into a Dawn Blaster. But unlike other Sentai devices where you have to take out the transformation trinket to put another one in place, you can stack 3 discs on top of each other into this blaster's opening on the side. Meaning, if you have a transformation disc in there already, you can push another on top of it into place. And that's a good thing, because this ranger team would have auxiliary discs based on other ocean animals, which I'll draw another time, that can be used for charging up special attacks or finishers. And like other Sentai toy gimmicks, you can pull out other diving discs from capsules on their belts that are inspired heavily by the ones from Zenkaiger. But because unique Sentai weapons are also really fun, I have decided to give each ranger their own. As you may have seen earlier, I wanted to give Noboru a Boken Black style hammer at first, cause, you know. But since I just drew a fan-made Sentai hero with a hammer earlier this year, I eventually decided to try something different, which I call the Hammer Anchor. This actually worked out perfectly for being a unique weapon, as I not only like the blunt design, one heavily inspired by Bangre's Bari Blade in Zyuohger, as well as the way it loosely weighs Noboru down, but an average anchor silhouette almost looks like a hammerhead shark from the top down, so it fits. Oh, and shout out to the YouTuber James Hulier, who made this great video on drawing ocean backgrounds in Procreate that I used as reference to create the background in this video while adding my own spin to it. And with that, our first Haidoroh is complete. For my first attempt at making a truly original Sentai design, especially digitally, I am very happy with how this turned out. I like the silhouette, I like the hammer anchor, even if figuring out the details was a tiny bit scattershot. The black and white enhanced the red on the suit, making it pop more instead of taking away from it. The suit feels like a scuba suit while still being simplified to fit Sentai aesthetics, and I especially love the helmet. It has a great design that would stand out among other Red Rangers. The visor has a scuba goggle vibe, the breathing tubes look good, and it reminds me a lot of Gal Ranger with the biting animal head design, with a hint of Gokaiger thanks to that mouth cover. This is just overall a great start in my opinion and got me really excited about building out an entire team. Next up we have Haidoroh Blue. Kind of. Because I forgot to turn on his time-lapse recording like an idiot. Whoops. But I still want to showcase my hard work, so I will instead, as a compromise, be displaying the initial rough sketch, then the cleanup sketch, then the line art, and just have it go back and forth in that cycle as I explain my inspirations and details about the design until we get to the final composition. I know, it's lame, but it's literally the best I can do. Anyway, Mizushima Akihiro is a martial artist brought in to improve the team's combat skills. After surviving a deadly tsunami as a child, he's chosen to live life with impressive optimism. At first glance, that attitude and desire to go with the flow may make him look a little airheaded, but assuming such is a mistake, as he is a competent, tactical opponent whose kindness and faith only make him more determined to do right by others. Characterization-wise, the biggest inspirations for Akihiro were RJ from Jungle Fury and the Blue Lantern Saint Walker, specifically his portrayal in the Green Lantern animated series. The best way I can summarize it is Akihiro is a mentor like RJ, but a warrior patient with others like Walker. He's capable of getting serious, but doesn't feel he needs to shout or be too angry to get his dedication or intensity across. For the tsunami backstory element, I was also inspired by the Owl City song The Tornado, about a paperboy who survives a dust storm. No, I'm just kidding, but that would be really funny if it was. A tornado that rips through his town, and how despite being terrified of dying, he tries to remain calm, clinging to his faith that everything will be okay in the end. That's Akihiro. I could maybe see him going through some traumatic event that breaks him for a few episodes, but other than that, he's the first to step up and keep his Sentai's spirits high in the face of difficult odds, especially while encouraging their best selves in battle. He's very much on a Gosei Pink mindset that everything will work out in the end, but he can also fight back and kick your ass without breaking a sweat. This is part of why I chose a penguin as his animal. Not only have we never had a penguin-themed ranger, and I believe only one penguin mecha, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but penguins in general are great at surviving harsh conditions like Akihiro once did. Beyond living in the coldest place on Earth, males have to survive harsh storms while sitting on eggs, females have to go hunting in dark waters inhabited by leopard seals. And babies are at risk of predatory birds like skuas trying to eat them before they're even born. Oh, and while we're here, especially now that I've learned that the emperor penguin has been declared endangered as of this April, charity links for marine life will be in the description below. As for the species, I chose rockhopper and macaroni penguins as I like the idea of their yellow feathers making a cool silhouette. I was a little worried that my helmet's feathers looking as sharp as they do in the final line art would realistically be impossible or a hazard for a real suit, but then again, Kajiki Yellow and Q Ranger had a swordfish point for a visor, so who knows. By the way, yes, I know rockhopper beaks aren't shaped like that, but every time I tried simplifying their shape, it just looked like a knockoff Star-Lord logo, so I went with this for simplicity. It's a blue penguin design that isn't based on the actual blue penguin. I think I'm fine to exaggerate a little. If Beast Morphers can make a Rhino Beetle Zord into a praying mantis just because its mecha's crane hooks kinda look like tiny arms, I can do this, it's fine. As for his weapon, I was originally planning on giving Akihiro size, as I feel they are an underappreciated weapon type that would look similar to penguin flippers during combat and fit his martial arts prowess. But when I got a good look at rockhopper flippers and their curvature, I switched to flipper daggers, inspired by Izzy's Tiger Claw daggers in Cosmic Fury, and the Saugon, I'm not sure how to say that, but the blades from Go Busters, which have an unintentional but strikingly similar coloration. And same as the last ranger, he has circular openings on each dagger to insert diving discs for special attacks. And with that, Now there are 2 of them. My frustration over forgetting to turn on the recording aside, I really like this design too. The blues stick out just enough from the background while still feeling like they belong, the animal emblem looks cool, the daggers really add to the intended flippers out silhouette with a nice balance of black, white, and blue, and the helmet gets better the more I look at it. Once or twice I was worried about it looking too much like a lionfish or some other ocean animal given how, again, just sharp those feathers are. Seriously, if this were a real suit, I have no idea if that would be like a really bad filming hazard. But when combined with the daggers and this pose, I think it's a very cool raw copper penguin design. I'm also glad that back leg looks decent because I hate drawing legs in that 3/4 overhead in between look. There's not much else to say. I wish you guys got to see more of my hard work, but I'm still very happy with the final composition. Next up we have Haidoroh Yellow. Yukimura Keiko is a quiet zoologist who didn't ask for these powers. Rather, somebody she knew was supposed to use them, but got injured during the first Mizunami attack and gave them to her for safekeeping. While this leads to her facing some self-imposed pressure and a good dose of imposter syndrome, she slowly finds confidence in herself on this team, makes more friends, and is valued for her knowledge of sea life, which especially becomes important when they get caught in the crossfire of some battles. It should come as no surprise that one of my big inspirations for Keiko's characterization was Whisper the Wolf from the Sonic comics because of her similarly shy demeanor. However, I also liked the idea of giving her the imposter syndrome guilt that Kotoha in Shinkenger, and by proxy Emily in Samurai, had with their sisters. If I were writing this into a full story, which, no, I am not making a Haidoroh fanfiction, I'm sorry, please don't ask me to in the comments, but if I did, I'd probably give Keiko a storyline where she starts super shy, but slowly turns into a character like Miss Marvel, meaning her passion can finally come out unafraid, even if in long rambles about her occupation. Or perhaps it's better to have her keep being her shy self and just accepted by everybody. I don't know, you guys decide. But for now, she's like Zira in Pretty Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. Passionate and smart when it comes to her areas of interest, but shy and self-conscious with strangers. Those passions, of course, are marine biology and specifically Arctic animals, which I guess you could say gives her a yellow snow motif? Speaking of animals, narwhals, beyond being beautiful sea creatures, were chosen as her theme because they are another inspiration for her characterization. I didn't know this until very recently, but narwhals are actually very anxious animals, and it is a genuine risk for scientists to approach them in the wild because narwhals are very scared of humans, and when they get too scared, especially when separated from their pods, they risk dying of panic attacks in the Arctic Ocean. It's part of why there are no narwhals in aquariums or elsewhere in captivity. Also, fun fact about their super long tusk, which I of course put on Keiko's helmet, making it look similar to a certain org's. They're actually not sparring weapons as previously believed. While we still don't entirely know what narwhal tusks are used for, we do know that, like narwhals themselves, they are incredibly sensitive because they have 10 million nerve endings, which has led some to believe that they use those nerve endings to navigate away from colder waters. You get the point. Like narwhals, Keiko is sensitive, but that doesn't make her a bad ranger. And that segues nicely into discussing Keiko's unique weapon, which was originally going to be a tusk-like rapier or lance. But again, since Keiko is an Arctic animal expert, I'd figured she'd not want something that continues to spread the rumor about narwhal tusks being swords. And when you combine this with the realization that having a more handheld scientific weapon would fit better with her characterization, IMO, I switched gears from bladed weapons to a sonic weapon, the Sonar Echoer. Based on newer handheld sonar devices, but with a cute little narwhal tusk up top, it works somewhat like a, for lack of a better way to put it, Wii remote. You point, press a button, and shoot stunning sonic blasts. It's not the strongest weapon, but it's light, efficient, quick to fire, and keeps enemies at bay, kind of like beaten Stagbuster's Morphin Blasters. You can also, like Boken Silver's Sega Sniper, switch between that and a sensor through the big upper button to track things like monsters hiding themselves, civilians in trouble, sea animals, etc. And with that, 3 finally makes this a crowd. Once again, I like this design, though I can easily see this being most viewers' least favorite. The silhouette I do think is the weakest of the three so far, but at least that is on purpose. It's meant to be Keiko trying to look tough while being cautious, so she has her weapon raised and a tightened fist, but she's, keeping them close to her body. If not for the tusk, I do think this would look pretty generic on its own, but thanks to that and the fact that this is meant to be a character on a team with other distinct silhouettes, I still think it works. Before anyone beats me to the punch in the comments, I will concede that yes, the Sonar Echoer does look kind of like a bumblebee weapon, and honestly, I don't care. Sue me. It's hard to make a black and yellow design that doesn't remind people of bees. In summary, it might be a little off in spots, but I'm still proud of this piece. And now that we have 3 Haidorohgers, the only thing left to do is put them all together. Nice! I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty fine looking Ocean Sentai so far. That's right, we're not done yet. Because even if this team would just start with 3 Rangers, I imagine by the 10th episode, they would easily bump that number up to 5. Unfortunately, the remaining Rangers aren't ready yet, so that is going to be the end of part 1, but I still want a 5-Ranger team by the end of the summer, so here's the plan for now. Next month, I want to put out a hopefully short Kev Talks video about a scene from Ninjago, so while I work on that, I'll also make the final 2 members of the main team and try to have part 2 completed by Labor Day. And don't worry, I will remember to record both of their time lapses. But for now, let me know what you think of these suit designs. Could you see these guys being an official Sentai team for when the series comes back or gets rebooted? Do you like the choice of animals? Would you have done something differently? Do you have a favorite design or a least favorite? Pros, cons, whatever comes to mind, I'm open to reading in the comments below. Also, while you're down there, are there any other broad motifs that you want to see me make into another original Sentai team? I definitely want to do more of these, so do you want to see like a sports Sentai, a monster Sentai, a building Sentai, a take on a theme we've already seen but I could reinvent in a fun way, a theme that nobody would see coming? Seriously, if you have suggestions like these, let me know ASAP, because especially now that we have a new series going, I'm always open to new video ideas. Until then, I'm American Elephant, call me Kevin, thanks for stopping by Elephant Power Productions, follow me on all these platforms, or check out my animations if you like my work, subscribe if you want more content like this, and I'll hopefully see you all on the next episode of Kev Draws. That feels really nice to say. Take care, Elephant Power to all of you, and I'll see you later, Rangers.